Have you ever heard of the mountain colonized by jinn? This mountain, dear viewer, is located in Saudi Arabia, and it's been the center of many stories. I'll tell you one of them. Honestly, the stories about this mountain are the closest thing to fiction. Everyone agrees that this mountain is haunted by jinn. It's said that this mountain holds vast treasures, precious stones, and gold. But these treasures are guarded by the jinn. Our story today is real and terrifying, and it happened in Saudi Arabia. It's a heavy one. Before we dive into the story, if you're following me on Instagram or TikTok, I share these stories in a much better way on my YouTube channel. Go to my account, you'll find a link, click it, and it'll take you to my channel. Subscribe and wait for any new story I might post. Also, I want to remind you that in 3 months, God willing, my first book will be launched. The book's title is Heavy Duty, and it's about the jinn stories I've shared with you. Plus, there might be a terrifying story I haven't told yet. Once the book is launched, I'll announce it, God willing. The mountain we're talking about today, dear viewer, is Jabal Al-Daqm. They say it was named after a king of the jinn called Al-Daqm. This jinn king guards the mountain, and his followers guard it with him. They don't allow any human to enter this mountain. This mountain, dear viewer, is in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, specifically in the Jazan region, in parentheses, Baal Arda. This area around the mountain is completely deserted. Despite the many stories circulating about this mountain, it's considered a tourist landmark, and many people visit it. It's a beautiful place, and most people love going there. But its biggest fame comes from being a colony of jinn. When you go to this mountain, you'll find 2 gates. One of these gates leads to the kingdom of the jinn, and the other leads to jewels, treasures, and precious stones. If you enter one of these gates, dear viewer, rest assured it'll be your end forever. Simply put, you'll be captured by the Jinn King and his followers. One of the legends says there's a large rock crevice inside this mountain, and inside that crevice is a small lake guarded by a massive snake. It's said that anyone who enters this crevice says goodbye to life forever, because this snake is enormous. Anyone who tries to enter gets swallowed by it. Sounds like I'm talking nonsense, right? Okay, let's get to the heavy stuff and dive into the story. Now, dear viewer, I'll tell you some of the stories that happen on this mountain. One of the most famous stories that's spread among the people of this city is about a shepherd who was grazing his flock near Jabal Al-Daqm. This shepherd suddenly disappeared from the area. He was missing for 2 years, and no one knew anything about him. Then, out of nowhere, he returned, but he looked strange. It was clear he was exhausted. His hair had turned white, his clothes were torn, and his teeth were broken and terrifying. When the locals saw him, they were shocked by his horrifying appearance and started asking him about the time he was gone. The shepherd said he suddenly found himself inside Jabal Al-Daqm, but he didn't know how he got out. He began telling them about the terrifying events that happened to him inside the mountain. Now, dear viewer, I want you to focus closely on what happened to this man. The shepherd said he was grazing his sheep near the mountain and decided to sit on the ground. He took out his flute to play a little and started playing for a long time until the sun began to set. He didn't realize how much time had passed, but then, when he looked around, he got the shock of his life. He saw a group of jinn with terrifying appearances surrounding him in a circle, dancing and enjoying his flute playing. Of course, people didn't believe the shepherd's story. They said he must have gone crazy or lost his mind and was making things up. Later, they asked him why his condition had deteriorated, especially his teeth. He said that during the 2 years he lived with the jinn, he didn't eat any food except theirs, which was charcoal. He said they don't eat normally like humans, so he was forced to eat charcoal to avoid starving. The shepherd continued, saying that one time he craved normal food and asked the jinn for a type of bread called Al-Daqm. One of the jinn actually went and brought him the bread. The shepherd asked, "Where did you get this bread? How did you fetch it?" The jinn replied, "I got it from your house." When the shepherd told this story to his family, they were shocked because one day they had placed Al-Daqm bread on the table, and it suddenly disappeared in a strange way. People then asked the shepherd about the jinn's appearance. He said they looked like us, but the difference was their eyes, which looked like red embers. He also said the jinn would play music, drum, and dance all night. By God, dear viewer, we're getting into the heavy stuff now, especially with the flute playing. They love it in a terrifying way. That's why when the shepherd started playing the flute, they gathered around him and loved it. As for how he returned to the human world, that's where things got really strange. The shepherd said the jinn forbade him from mentioning God's name, especially during rain, thunder, and lightning. They told him it was forbidden to mention God during those times, and if he broke that rule, they'd do something to him he'd never forget. He lived with them like this for 2 years. But one day, it rained, and he heard thunder. By mistake, he said, "In the name of God." Suddenly, he fell into a deep sleep, and when he woke up, he found himself outside the mountain, near his village, among his people. This story is one of the most famous about Jabal al-Daqm, and the people of this region kept spreading it until it reached a large number of people. Now, let's move on, dear viewer, to the second story about this mountain. This story is about a person named Khaled. Khaled decided to go on an exploration trip to this mountain. He wanted to take a risk and find out whether the jinn stories people told about this mountain were real or not. So Khaled called 4 of his friends and pitched the idea of exploring the mountain. Naturally, they were all scared and refused the idea completely, except for one friend who agreed to go with Khaled. The other 3 refused because they were afraid their fate would be like those who disappeared inside the mountain. They agreed, prepared their things, and Khaled and his friend drove in one car. They managed to reach the mountain about an hour before sunset. They got out of the car and started exploring around the mountain. They took pictures of each other, the mountain, and the area. After the sun set, Khaled started teasing his friend, suggesting they climb the mountain and explore the Jinn gates. At first, his friend completely refused the idea because he was worried and scared they'd go on this adventure, see the gates, and never return. Khaled responded, saying, "We've been here for 2 hours now, and we haven't seen anything strange or heard any weird noises." He tried to convince his friend that all the stories they'd heard about the mountain were just myths meant to scare people. Khaled kept pushing his friend until he finally agreed to climb the mountain. As they were heading toward it, a car stopped near them. An old man got out and, with a strange laugh, asked why they were there. They told him that they wanted to explore the Jinn gates. The old man laughed again, and they asked why. He said, "Listen, kids, my advice is to stay away from this mountain. It's haunted by Jinn. I suggest you go back to your homes as soon as possible." But Khaled told the old man, "We're determined to go in and explore the truth about the Jinn in this mountain." At that moment, the old man's expression changed, and he got angry. He said, "You need to go back now, or you'll say goodbye to your lives forever." At that moment, the place became freezing cold, and Khaled and his friend noticed it. Then the old man's face started turning black. Khaled and his friend saw this terrifying sight and got scared, realizing this old man wasn't human. They told him, "All right, please, we're done. We won't go in. We'll go back to our town and forget this idea." And they actually went back home. But Khaled couldn't stop thinking about the mountain and the old man whose face changed suddenly. He told himself, "I have to go back to the mountain and find out what's up with that strange old man." So he called his friends again and tried to convince them to go with him to the mountain. At first, they all refused as usual, but Khaled was persistent and insisted they come. He told them, "When I went the first time with my friend, nothing happened to us. Look at me. I'm here talking to you, and everything's fine. Let's go." He showed them the pictures they took of the mountain, and after a lot of insistence, they agreed to go with him. This time, there were 5 of them. The terrifying part, dear viewer, is that when they arrived at the mountain, the same car that stopped them the first time showed up again. But this time, there were 4 people in the car with the old man. Khaled was shocked because the first time, it was just the driver and the old man. Now, there were 4, exactly their number. Honestly, how do you explain this creepy coincidence? The old man got out of the car and said to Khaled, "You again? Didn't you have enough from your first visit?" Khaled replied, "This time, I'm serious. I'm going to enter the Jinn gate and explore with my friends." The old man laughed that strange laugh again and said, "If you're that determined, you need to go back to your families and pray, because if you go in, you'll never come out. The Jinn won't let you leave once you enter their gate." At this point, Khaled and his friends got scared by the old man's words and felt there was truth to what he was saying. They decided to go back home and abandon the idea of exploring the mountain for good. They said, "If we go back a 3rd time, we won't escape." The way the old man talked and his demeanor made it clear he wasn't human. He must be one of the Jinn warning us. Let's move to the 3rd story. One day, a guy named Ahmed was coming back from work around 3 a.m. On his way, he passed by Jabal al-Daqm. Ahmed was driving normally when he suddenly heard the sound of a tire bursting. The rim started scraping the ground, and the car began to swerve. He had to pull over to the right and change the tire. As I mentioned, Ahmed was on the road near Jabal al-Daqm. After pulling over and opening the trunk to get the spare tire and tools, while he was working, he noticed something black and large in front of him. This strange, black thing was moving toward him, swaying side to side in a creepy way. He couldn't see it clearly because of the darkness in the area. Ahmed started rushing to change the tire before this thing got closer, but it kept coming, and as it approached, it seemed to grow bigger. You know how fear makes you superhuman? Ahmed changed the tire in literally 1 minute, jumped into the car as fast as he could, and turned on the headlights. When the lights came on, the creature became clearer. It was a massive black camel. The terrifying part, dear viewer, was that the camel's eyes didn't reflect the headlights. As it got closer, Ahmed saw something he'll never forget to this day. The camel's mouth, or snout, looked like a bird's beak, but huge. Ahmed floored the gas and sped back onto the road, absolutely terrified. The road was completely empty, no cars, no people, just Ahmed. As he was driving, he started hearing a strange sound, like horse hooves running fast, getting closer and closer. Whatever it was much faster than the car. Ahmed looked in the rearview mirror to see where the sound was coming from, but he was shocked to see the road completely empty. Yet the sound kept getting louder and closer until it was right next to his car. Out of sheer terror, Ahmed rolled up the right window because he felt that black thing was still chasing him. He thought it might jump through the window. He sped up even more, but then he heard banging on the trunk like someone was hitting it, demanding he stop. The creepy and terrifying part, dear viewer, was that every time Ahmed checked the mirrors to find the source of the sound, he saw nothing. Finally, he managed to escape the horror and get home as fast as possible. When he got out of the car, he checked the back and was shocked to see strong, clear dents on the trunk. It was obvious this wasn't human. He also saw handprints on the rear window. That's when Ahmed knew this strange creature chasing him was a jinn. God protect us. This was Ahmed's story. One of the strange legends about this mountain says that Jabal al-Daqm is truly haunted by jinn, but their presence isn't just about guarding treasures and precious stones. It's said to be a prison for them. They say Prophet Solomon, peace be upon him, used to imprison disobedient jinn in this mountain. I don't know how true this is, but if anyone has more info, please share in the comments. It's said that the jinn who disobeyed Prophet Solomon were locked in Jabal al-Daqm forever. All these terrifying stories kept spreading among people in the region until they reached a huge number of people outside it. These, dear viewer, are some of the most famous stories and tales about Jabal al-Daqm. In conclusion, I hope you enjoyed the story and that it was to your liking. I hope I was lighthearted and entertaining. Don't forget to give me a like, share, and a quick comment to motivate me to post more. Most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you'll know when I post a new story. See you soon.